Dunder Mifflin is still a strong company, and we are poised to come through this more streamlined and profitable than ever.
This is not as much fun as I thought it would be.
It was fun when we weren't on the brink of bankruptcy.
We're going bankrupt, you think? They are really angry.
Bankruptcy. Now, a situation in which a business or a person becomes bankrupt, or in legal terms, a means for corporations or businesses to reorganize themselves and follow a debt repayment strategy. Most of us are probably familiar with the word, since it is a part of our general English vocabulary. However, the word is also a part of a specialized vocabulary known as business English. As a recognized area of English for specific purposes, business English is basically the English language as used in the context of workplace or professional business matters. In this video, we will discuss the history and development of business English, its objectives, its notable features, and the benefits of learning it. We will also discuss business English in a pedagogical context as well as the emergence of business English as a lingua franca. According to Spencer, business English is the type of English used in business contexts. These include international trade, commerce, finance, insurance, banking, and many office settings. It entails expectations of clarity, particular vocabulary, and grammatical structures. Additionally, Jones and Alexander said that business English isn't a special language with a special grammar. It is simply English used in business situations. They also added that when communicators wish to point out the special character of business language, they normally allude to the specialized and even academic terms used by people working in a particular profession. Every trade and every firm has their own jargon and their own ways of doing business, and every department within a company may use its own special terminology to describe what it does and its products. In the late 1960s and 1970s, scholars realized that there is a difference between business English and general English. The difference was mainly specialist vocabulary, which was reflected in the course books and materials during that time. In 1972, a move towards greater skills training in a business context occurred with the publication of the BBC coursebook and a video on English for Business, which incorporated greater emphasis on areas such as listening skills development, dialogue practice, and role plays, therefore accepting the need to develop student skills to deal with practical situations. This trend continued during the mid-1970s and 1980s. From the late 1980s, the focus then shifted to working on business communication skills. According to Bargiela Chiappini and Zhang, Dudley Evans and St. John in their book titled Developments in English for Specific Purposes, a Multidisciplinary Approach, note that ESP is an essentially materials-driven and teaching-led movement. The literature review on business communication considerably enlarged the original narrow view of business English as the teaching of the language for vocational purposes through linking linguistic performance with actual business activities. Another development in the field is the creation of business English as a lingua franca. Wu said that BELF is employed as a substitute for business English due to the wider application of business English in international business communications among non-native speakers. Additionally, the focus of teaching and researching in BELF is certainly wider than that in business English. BELF covers both the teaching and researching of business English with the purpose of facilitating both business communications between speakers of other languages and native English speakers and between non-native speakers. Many countries and regions around the world have also contributed to the development of business English. Examples are Europe's Charles, Ehrlich, Newman, Strasberg, Uligin, Wagner, and Furt, who are claimed to be the proponents of a discourse-based approach to business practices, especially intercultural negotiations. The work of American Laura Miller on Japan-US workplace interactions complemented Yamada Haru's work on Japanese-American meetings. Australians Klein, Marriott, and Mololand were involved in the analysis of intercultural interaction in the workplace and business negotiations. In New Zealand, Holmes and her collaborators set up a large collection of recordings from institutional and organizational settings. In the UK, Bowden in 1994 first documented the possibility of a multidisciplinary approach to the study of business meetings as organizational phenomena. In Asia, Yamada Haru contributed to the Japanese business discourse. Vijay Basha from Hong Kong worked on the genres of institutional discourse. Shantana Irvin Nupal's analysis on the use of English alongside other languages in the Malaysian workplace inaugurated a decade when an increasing number of Asian authors first joined the growing movement of Western researchers taking a close interest in work practices and increasingly become more successful at obtaining access to corporate environments. Let's now look at the objective or main purposes of business English. Firstly, business English aids individuals in interacting with English-based countries and companies to join, communicate, and compete in the international market. Another purpose of business English is to relay messages and form agreements between businessmen in forms of presentations, letter writings, negotiations, and meetings, which are all essential skills in both local and international business communication.
Okay, so continuing the discussion, we will now go to the characteristics of the business English. As we already know as of this point, business English primarily focuses on the improvement of individuals in the field of business, economic, and marketing communication. Centering this focus, one of its evident characteristics would pertain to it being a professional language in the field of international trade. As ESP aided learners in developing a certain vocabulary and style in communication, the approach in BE leans more towards becoming professional to communicate and express professionally in the business field. It is also further described as a means to adopt in mercantile transactions, which almost at all times includes business and economic jargons and terminologies such as marketing, feedback, price point, business plan, etc. So these are some of the terms included on the list that will be presented later on. So these terms, which are not usually present in a day-to-day basis of communication, are not commonly known to the public. Following the specification of business English, the focus on the vocabulary as well as the topics and issues being centered on the language and the communication cover the field of both local and global trade, business finances, and international relations. Furthermore, the business English primarily refers to the competent communicative skills needed in typical business communication. Hence, having a sufficient level of understanding and skills in this language is a requirement in dealing with business interactions. Lastly, the wider category of business English is further categorized into two: ordinary business English and specialized business English. The ordinary business English are the knowledge of the common terms and concepts in English which can be found or usually used in business books, magazines, and news activities. On the other hand, specialized BE entails a more exclusive purpose such as in official business documents, business regulations, and specialized business theories. Okay, so focusing on some of its notable features, we have gathered data on a study that centered on the lexical analysis of business English. Here we found out three common features on the vocabulary of business English. First, the role of affixed abbreviations. According to the Chinese study, the purpose of these general abbreviations is to lessen and save time, especially in reports and briefing. Some of the examples include FAQ or Fair Average Quality, describing food products, which also have a different meaning in media communication, which stands for frequently asked questions. There are also abbreviations for certain countries, which are familiar to the public, such as PH for Philippines and CN for China, and also abbreviations in cables and notes such as ASP or as soon as possible. The role of compounding is also frequent in PE. Words such as vacuum packed and encouragement policy are some of the exclusive compounds found in PE. There is also preference for more formal words and terms, since business English also covers or primarily covers international communications. Some of these are the preference for the word require, then the word need, with regards to, prior to, and for the purpose of. There are also various techniques in learning the business English, one of which includes learning basic and related knowledge in the field of business and economy as an initial step in learning this specific language. There's also a preference on much simpler and more impressive verbs, such as choosing approval versus approbation and choosing improve versus ameliorate. So the next slide offers some of the common business English terms listed by the Oxford Royal Academy. Some of these words are also present in some fields and specialized English, but may vary depending on the meaning and level of importance in the communication. So some of the words I mentioned earlier are included in this list. Now, considering that the learner successfully acquired vocabulary and learned skills in business communications, what then are the general benefits of this learning for them? We have listed four primary benefits. First, it helps them achieve knowledge with regards to economy and business concepts, theories, and issues, to be more aware of the business sector in general. It also helps in grasping updates on world news and trends in relation to business and economy. It also provides both local and international connections through cooperation and teamwork, especially for businesses and business people that have ventured internationally. Lastly, it also supports building confidence for learners as they engage in business communications and interactions. The next part focuses on the updates and development of teaching business English. First, we will look into the major shifts in the development of teaching business English from the study of Bhatia and Burmer in 2014. According to their study, there has been an advance in genre theory, which now includes in-depth and substantial studies and analysis of meaning, including those professional practices that are well beyond the reach, provided which is surface level textual analysis. They also found out that there is a gradual convergence of two approaches to teaching business English in terms of science, theory, and pedagogy, namely English for specific purposes, BSP, and business communication studies, which were once thought to be very separate field of study. And finally, there is also the recognition that there is a need to close the gap between the academy and the professions, and making use of the emerging forms of media in business worlds. On the other hand, according to Leah Jones and Richard Alexander, most of the vocabulary used in business situations is, by any definition, general English vocabulary, and the students must strive to widen all aspects of their vocabulary and grammar if they want to improve their communication skills beyond the survival level and be respected and appreciated with foreign people in English. Furthermore, the third volume of their book, the New International Business English Update Edition Teacher's Book, Communication Skills in English for Business Purposes, gives a 15-minute course on English and Business Purposes, or EBP, learners ranging from young students or trainees with no work experience to senior business people with a lot of experience dealing with foreign business partners. So the course is organized as follows. It was divided into 3 parts: Units 1 to 4, Units 5 to 14, and Units 15. Units 1 to 4 introduces basic business English skills such as talking to people, face-to-face writing letters, memos, and faxes, using the telephone, and writing summaries, notes, and reports. The second part, Units 5 to 14, employs all the necessary basic skills in vocabulary, standard business situations, reading, speaking, listening, and writing skills. And the last unit is allocated for the simulation or the application of all their learnings in a typical real-life scenarios in the business world.
Lingua franca is needed in business environment where people of different cultures and languages work together. In a multicultural business setting, whenever person A with first language A speaks to person B with first language B, there are four options available to them. So for numbers 1 and 2, where both speakers use language A or B, one of the interactants will have to adjust to make the communication successful. This strategy, according to Gerritsen and Nickerson, is used mostly to complete sales transactions. However, this would only be possible if speaker A knows language B or if speaker B knows language A. In a multicultural setting, this is not always the case, and even if it is, the speakers could be speaking different varieties of the same language because it's not their L1. There are varieties like American British, Philippine English, Indian English, and some varieties like Chinglish, Singlish, and Taglish. They may also choose the third option where both the speakers stick to their language, but this demands that both of them know the language of the other person so they may understand each other. For the last option, they may use a language C or a lingua franca. According to the article written in 2009, this is the norm in international business communication, and over the last 2 decades, English has played an increasingly dominant role in business transactions in general around the globe. Here are some of the reasons why DELF may fail. First is the lack of comprehensibility. Comprehensibility means that the message is understood by the receiver in the way in which the sender intended. Let's look at this example, Tenerife 1977. Here, a Dutch captain speaks in English. His utterance makes sense, but the Spanish controller, who also knows the language, understood it differently. Problems regarding the comprehensibility of an utterance is usually on the lexical and grammatical level. For the next one, we look at cultural differences. 2 speakers of English may use the language in a different way depending on their culture or on their first language. A study reveals that people who belong to cultures with high power distance use more formal salutations and closing phrases than writers from low power distance culture. High power distance cultures may experience the informal use of language as impolite and too personal, and the low power distance cultures may experience the formal use of language as unnecessarily distant. What the communicators could do here is to know their audience or establish a good rapport with their client or business partners or customers for them to be aware of differences in their use of language. Another reason is the stereotyped associations with a particular accent in English. We may consider here that the number of non-native speakers of English is greater than that of the native speakers, but the standard remains to be based on the accent by native speakers, to the point that the accent is used to judge whether the language is of high or low status or intelligence. Methodologies that may be used in studying business English are survey research that makes use of survey questionnaires and structured interviews, corpus analysis of texts used in different business contexts like meetings, conferences, emails, and others, experimental research, and more observation. We now proceed to the differences between academic and business writing. Whether you are writing an academic or a business paper, one should know how to fetch relevant pieces of information through research and make sense of these bits of information to achieve a goal. Academic writing is structured, objective. It follows a certain format or flow, and it usually uses formal or passive language. It also requires extensive vocabulary. vocabulary. In business writing, one is allowed to modify the structure to match the changes in business situation and customers' preferences. It is subjective and the use of first-person pronouns is not an issue. But why do we write in business English? To write reports with recommendations, to persuade, promote services, engage interests, and involve to get the right results, sell, support customers, improve life for customers and others. So, for the last part of our report, here are some tips in business writing. First, be correct. Remember your purpose, the goal of the company that you're representing, and be careful of the information that you impart to your audiences. Second, be clear. Going back to the definitions presented by Earl, we need to think about the propriety and the correctness of what we are writing. We have to use simple and concise language. So for numbers 3 and 4, make the right impact and focus on your readers as your customers. We should refrain from using jargons. This is why business writing is considered subjective, because it needs to match the expectations of the clients or customers to make an impact, to connect and be relatable. And that's it for our report. Thank you for listening.